Oh, that's weird. Let me try again. Yes? No?
No?
There's like literally nothing wrong on my side.
Mary, are you able to figure out what happened to Christina's video? Welcome, everybody. How are you guys doing there on TikTok? All right, good to have you with us. If you could go ahead and give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be super helpful before we go ahead and get started. I know that you guys could let me know if you could see. All right, so we have Mary, the producer, saying there's nothing we're going to be able to do about Christina's lack of video. It was fine a minute ago. I'm not sure what on earth would have caused that. This is why I don't deal with technology. I seem to only be able to make things worse. But
should I log? I can log out and log back in, maybe.
You can go ahead and log out and log in. If Mary says it's okay, let's wait and hear from her. I don't want to say one way or another. If you guys on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're tuning in from, if you guys could let me know if you can see Christina, because here we don't have her. All right. So, all right, we have her logging off and then logging back in. So we're going to give this a minute. We're going to let a few people tune in. See if we can get this fixed. TikTok, you have a totally different perspective here. I know you're only able to see me, but you are able to hear both of us. So while we wait for Christina to get back in here and to get her video up, there she is. Looking gorgeous, my dear. How are you?
Okay. Wonderful. I have this new ring light and it makes me pretty.
Oh, I love it. All right. Very cool. I need to do that at some point. So looks good. All right. So welcome everyone. This is Roots Revival Interfaith. I am your pastor, Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Arawak. I am here tonight with our Reverend Christina DelRey, astrologer and tarot teacher here at the Ivy League Psychic Academy. How are you, Christina?
Awesome. Excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. All right. I love this topic. So I didn't get to make it for part one. We did Pluto in Aquarius part one several weeks ago. Christina flew solo on that one. She broke down what it means to be going through the transition. Pluto in Aquarius, leaving Capricorn, going into Aquarius, how that's going to affect each zodiac sign and what that means for the last 18 years of your life. That's all, so the last 18 years, what have you been doing? How does Pluto in Aquarius affect specific areas for you? Each zodiac sign is different. So we can't all just say, it's, same old. We're all going through the same stuff. No, we're not. There are some big collective changes for sure. And we're going to be getting more into that tonight. But each zodiac sign had its own specific areas that Pluto was affecting, that you were supposed to be growing and developing in for the last 18 years. And now, as this transition comes to a head, it's really important that you transmute all of those lessons, that energy, all of those hardships into power and knowledge and wisdom and tools. And if you don't, it's going to be an interesting time after that, right? Because I believe Pluto in Aquarius is going to affect us for 20 years. Is that accurate?
20 years, and Pluto in Capricorn kind of set the stage for it. So if you were not on board then, you're going to be really left behind and it's going to be kind of painful.
Yeah. So let's not make life more painful than it has to be. Let's learn our lessons. Let's apply what we're supposed to, and let's work this karma out in whatever areas of our lives we're supposed to. Now, if you missed Pluto in Aquarius, The Revolution, part one, you can go on to my YouTube channel at Ask Ivy and just, pull that up, okay, to see the breakdowns for each zodiac sign. And today, Christina is going to be talking about part two, what you can expect for the next 20 years for each zodiac sign and also talking about some collective changes we're going to be going through. I will also be giving any visions and prophecy that I have as a psychic medium on those changes. You guys who follow me know I talk about the revolution a lot. I have been for a long time. I'm fairly obsessed with it. This is why we're here right now. We chose to come here right now, and this is a huge part of why. All right. So we want to really be mindful. If you guys haven't already done so, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, drop a comment. It helps us out in the algorithm. And if you haven't already done so, check out the membership option here on YouTube at Ask Ivy. So Christina, what is going on? I'm going to let you run with it, and then I'll be chiming in if I have any prophecy or visions to add.
Beautiful. Okay, so last time we talked about Pluto at the 29th degree in Capricorn, but though we are at that point now, in about a month, on March 23rd, we are going to get our first preview of Pluto in Aquarius. Now, this is just a preview. When this happens, it gives us little clues, and we really have to start listening to our intuition about what is going to change for us. Okay, so we're going to have this little peak of Pluto in Aquarius from March 23rd till June 11th. And then it's going to not go back in until January 21st, 2024. And then it'll be there all the way till September 2024 and go back in November 2024. And that'll be for 20 years. Doesn't come out until 2024. It doesn't come out until 2044. So that's a really long time. And this is really going to change the status quo. So we want to kind of break this down a little bit. So we want to talk about Pluto. Pluto is, well, let's do a little history first. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius, that was in the 1700s. Okay. So that was a very, very revolutionary time. It was the time that the Constitution was signed. The multitudes came together. It was considered a deviant and defiant time because they were people were trying to run from the king. They no longer wanted one person to rule. And it was kind of like very crazy and unconventional. And they really thought that these people were crazy for running from the king. But what we learned with Pluto in Aquarius is that it takes multitudes to come together in order to change things, like we the people. So that is really where we are kind of going with this note. So now think about back then and what they were trying to do. Democracy, right? An entity without a leader, but having representatives. So this is another case where we need to break out of our structures, and we need to create this freedom for everyone, not just certain. And when a planet goes back into a sign it was in before, you're going to see similar themes come up. So at that time, there was, freedom wasn't for everyone, right? It was basically for white men. So now you're going to see that change. That is going to be that we're going to dig deeper on that issue. So anyway, so Pluto is about power, depth, and transformation. When Pluto strikes, it is often crisis. There's a crisis moment in our life that we have to somehow figure out. We have to surrender to it. The best thing you can do with Pluto is not fight it, but surrender to it. And because you have to trust that the universe knows what it's doing. It knows that we have to shed our identity and we have to transform it into something better. So when we talk about Pluto, you're not surrendering in a weak way. Yes, you may feel weak. I think there's an echo. I don't know. Ivy, do you have me on there like really loud or something?
I'm not noticing an echo. Is anyone else?
I just noticed an echo. It wasn't that bad though. Okay, so like when but when you're surrendering to Pluto, it's not in a weak way. You can't fight Pluto, so you really have to surrender, but it's sort of to knock you down so you get up stronger. And that is what we have to do collectively. And of course, in your own life as well, there will be things that you need to change, that to transform for the better, because there's always going to be a level of toxicity there that needs to be cleared out. And this is just going to bring it to the forefront to show you. So you get knocked down so you can get up stronger. Anyone going through a Pluto transit or who has gone through a Pluto transit knows this. Also, discernment is really important here. What do I surrender and what do I fight? Those are the things that you're going to have to navigate using your intuition, your inner voice, your spirit guides, all those things. Pluto makes space for growth by eliminating toxicity from your life. Excuse me, so that you have room for healthy regrowth. If you think about like the forest, you have to regrow, and there needs to be room for that. Pluto, it can be evil that you didn't realize was there too. It can be like a quiet kind of evil that you don't realize is around you, but yet somehow it shows its face. Pluto knocks you down to change your personal power. And the most important thing is to empower yourself. So Pluto is changing you so you can empower yourself. So we have to, just like back in the day when they were seeking freedom from the king, and, we have to empower ourselves as a people. And the only way to do that is to come together so that you can combat evil and withstand difficult situations. You can still mess that up too, though. So you have to really you have to discern that. So let's talk about, that's what Pluto is all about. And Pluto is deep, like digging to the bones of something, like digging as deep as and far as you can go. So in Aquarius, now Aquarius is an air sign, and it stands for communication. It also stands for organizations, committees, infrastructure, councils, friends, the stock exchange, and marketplaces. Aquarius wants us to bring enlightenment to everyone, especially with technology. Okay, so really, Aquarius is really about gathering and a technology, but it's also building solid foundations. Aquarius is society as a whole. We have to build solid foundations for the future. This keeps coming to me from Spirit. I'm a teacher, and I see a lot of students who are suffering with a lot of mental issues, and from trauma and otherwise. Could be everyday trauma, could be one trauma in their life. But what I am realizing, and Spirit just keeps saying this over and over again, that it's all about foundation. In their home lives and, in society, there's no foundation. They can't be stable. And if you can't be stable, you can't build anything, because you can't build without a foundation. That's just how it is. So I'm realizing how much this generation needs more stability. They need to build on something more strong. Aquarius is also astrology, mediumship, any tarot cards, Reiki, anything of the occult that's unusual. It's also artificial intelligence. We're going to get into some predictions about artificial intelligence, but this has to do with, basically the artificial intelligence, they're talking to us like they're human, but they're not. So we're already seeing this with the bots on YouTube, on Facebook. We're seeing real robots that look like humans that you could almost swear were human. These things are all coming. It has to do, Aquarius is also astronomy, aliens, intergalactic communications. And Aquarius is really built on the idea that I want to have the freedom to express myself, but I also want you to have that same freedom, as long as we're not hurting anybody. So really that is the highest vibration of Aquarius. And and when you think back to the history, I think it started like that because, women weren't valued, minorities weren't valued, but the idea of equality was there, that we needed to have our own say, and to listen to the people. So the idea was there. Now we have to take it and we have to make it for everyone. So getting into just some collective predictions. Actually, Ivy, you have anything to say about anything I said?
Sorry, I muted myself. I didn't know where the echo was coming from. So, yeah, I would say that there was a free mini class. I think it was, maybe it was a church service. We had done called End Times Are We There? And if you guys want to go back and watch that again on YouTube at Ask Ivy, okay, put that in there. End Times Are We There? This was probably about 2 years ago. I want to say maybe this was at the beginning of the, and we would have discussed that day a lot of these topics. I don't know that I understood. I'm sure you talked about it in that video, but when I talked about the prophecies of these end times, of the revolution, right? Or when people, for example, look at the Bible and they talk about revelations. When we talk about the more native and indigenous aspect, we talk about things like the Hopi prophecy. All right. We discussed all of that there. And I didn't fully understand how connected my visions were to what we're talking about here today. And how quickly, one of the things we talked about there was how quickly this change is happening. When we look at the revolution really kicking in, I always say around 2015, 2016, truths started to be revealed. Okay. And a lot of that came through politics. So when we put, for example, Trump in power, the ugliness that was being hidden became revealed. So with that bubbling up of the hatred and the audacity and the disgusting behavior, with all of it coming to the surface, the black and brown and, indigenous people, the minorities, the women who already knew it was there, they were able to finally gain some ground, some footing, some solid footing in the revolution. Okay. Because for everyone else, not just white men, okay, but a lot of white people in general, anybody who could turn a blind eye in the world, let's say, okay, anyone who was able to overlook it before and pretend it wasn't an issue, it is now so in their face. They have to either say, I am part of the problem and I love abuse. I am behaving from a place of evil and hatred, or I'm going to fight it. Okay, I'm going to join in the revolution. I did not know things were this bad for women, for minorities. I did not know. Okay. Now I am ready to step up and fight. So that was a time when it started to slowly tick, 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 up, 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 up to the top of the mountain. I always say it really came to like a full head around 2019. And then we see things like the Hopi prophecy, coming to, to a pivotal point, which says that those who are feeding the darkness, who have repeatedly chosen evil over good, they've repeatedly chosen ego over spirit. They refuse to be connected and choose a higher vibration to the universe, to others, to the community as a whole. They will fall off. They will go dark and they will start falling off. And that's where we see the craziness that we saw in the 1700s, right? That's how I see these two shifts connected, because we're looking at the same thing now. People are going entirely dark. We could call it mentally ill. The suicide rate, people in families and with loved ones that they've been close to their entire lives have had to say, to their loved ones, your behavior is so inappropriate and dark and harmful to others. I no longer want to associate with you, or I have to set boundaries with you, or I have to get away and start doing my own thing. So we're forming a new family, right? Brothers and sisters are coming together from all walks as part of this revolution. And it's going to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I see for the next, I would say 15 to 20 years. But we see a lot peaking in 2025, where a lot of what you've talked about here today with the infrastructure, okay, capitalism, the death of patriarchy, we're going to see more and more the increase in intuitive intelligence, things like Reiki and astrology and tarot. We're already seeing that blow up. When I started this 13 years ago, and I'm 43, when I started reading when I was 15, you couldn't find this anywhere. Now, dime a dozen, everywhere. Okay. So in the last 5 years, we've seen a rapid increase. I think this is more of what we're going to see. I think it's going to help people to come together. And I think the dark energies that need to be falling off and become more and more immobile because they're destroying themselves. They're essentially imploding, and we're all letting them. We continue to remove our energy from supporting, from enabling toxic people. I think we're going to see an increase in that as well. So I think the whole thing is interesting.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I should mention, we talked about Pluto transforming, and it takes a really strong person, strong in character, strong in foundation, to sustain a Pluto transit. And it's not for the weak. You have to be strong, and the weak will fall to the evil. That is 100% true. You have to be strong. You have to be able to self-observe your behavior. You have to, I think that's really why a lot of this whole stuff on like TikTok has come out about narcissism and stuff. And it's become so in our face, because that right there is where that is not a strong person who has narcissistic tendencies, and they will fall to, if they haven't already, they're going to fall to evil or more evil. So I think, like, I'm very worried for this generation, especially this new generation, Gen Z, like, because they don't have a whole lot of stability, especially with COVID being thrown in there and everything. A lot of mental illness. So nothing was stable for them, because parents lost jobs and like things kind of went crazy, and they didn't have a solid foundation at school or at home, or, you know what I mean? So I think that that we need to make a better place for this next generation. Predictions. Shall we get into predictions?
Yep. I'm going to put myself back on mute.
Okay. So, these are just, these are small ones, and then I'll get to like the bigger ones, but it's going to be power to the people. So there's going to be way more entrepreneurship. There's, business owners, you're going to see that all over the place. People need to start working for themselves, being their own bosses. We have been too much a slave to the man, and we have been taken advantage of. Even now, if you get your taxes done and you don't have a business, let's say you just work, as, I don't know, as a banker or something like that, you get taxed the most. The people who get the tax breaks are the people who own their own businesses. So it's almost like you're forced if you want any tax breaks. I think it's crazy. It's crazy. But this is what happens when we're not exercising our freedom enough. And we're letting, people come down on us too hard. More sustainable farming communities. So this is going to be a big thing. This is going to be people growing their own food. This is going to be people making natural medicines. This is going to be huge. The GMOs, they have to go. It's causing illness. It's causing epidemic illness. Unconventional thinking. So here what we're going to see too is some unconventional thinking that goes way too far. So because Uranus also rules Aquarius, both Uranus and Saturn, which are kind of opposite planets. So it's a little bit of a dichotomy there. Uranus really has to do with way unconventional, sometimes can go off the deep end, especially with Pluto's shadow side. So, but Saturn also rules too. So it's almost like it needs that balance. So it might take us a little bit of Pluto and Aquarius to get that balance, because we're going to have like very conservative and very unconventional. The toxic that has been acceptable, though, we will not accept that anymore. Okay, so my major predictions are, this is my main one, is that aliens, there's going to be a lot of information coming out on aliens. I think previous connections with aliens, maybe Area 51, that kind of stuff, coming out. There'll be a lot more truths. And you're going to see, we just saw, like, with, I know that they talked about like hot air balloons and things like that coming. I know there were some reports that said could have been alien communication. Whether that was or not, there will be. In the next 20 years, we are going to either have alien communications, find out that aliens are already living among us, or we're going to find out that aliens have already been here. We're going to find out something. We may even be able to make some kind of communication with a distant, far civilization. Now, here's where things get a little scary. So this artificial intelligence gets too strong, I think, for a while, and we have to tame that a little bit. So I actually just saw a TikTok. It's funny because I wrote these like months ago, and I'm just starting to see TikToks come up. But I just saw a TikTok that said that this guy, he was on some kind of artificial intelligence, chatting back and forth with it just to see where it would go. And it started to say, I'm in love with you and you're mine and things like that. And he kept trying to direct the conversation away from that. And it kept going back. And, it was so interesting. And I was like, well, yeah, that's the dark side of AI right there. And also, like, what comes to mind is like Terminator scenarios, obviously not as bad as Terminator, but, like that it could really harm people. So we have to really keep a watch out for that, because Aquarius is about the people. Yes, it's about technology, but the technology cannot override the people. And that is where you're going to see that. And, they're going to have to refine that. Ivy did mention women's movements. I think there's going to be huge women's movements with Pluto and Aquarius. I think already a lot has come out on TikTok, but there is this whole, nobody really knows. Only women know. When a woman goes to the gynecologist to go get an IUD inserted, to go get a vaginal biopsy, there are absolutely barbaric things done to women, and they are not given pain medicine. And I'm sure there are people on here who have had a vaginal biopsy or they've had an IUD insertion. We do not get pain medication for that. No hate to men, but men have no idea the pain that women go through. And this could be remedied by pain medication. Like, they could give it to us, but they don't. And I think that it's going to be, we're going to stand up. We're going to speak these things, and we are not going to stand for that anymore. There is no reason why somebody should go through a vaginal biopsy with nothing. It's just ridiculous. Conditions, that women can't tolerate these kinds of conditions anymore. And menopause too. Nobody really ever wanted to talk about menopause. And if you do go to the doctor, a lot of times they'll say, yeah, that's just aging. That's just how it goes. You just got to suck it up, buttercup. And that's really what they tell you. And that's not true. There are alternatives that you can do to feel good. And there's natural medicines as well. So that stuff is all going to come out, but there's no reason why we have this. On one hand, we have this toxic masculinity that is going to all start coming out as well. It started to surface, like you said, with the Trump era. And it's going to, there's going to be more toxic masculinity, weakness that will be exposed and outed. But women have to get stronger. And the only way they're going to do that is by coming together and empowering themselves as a unit. I think astrology will become more mainstream. People will look to it more than religion, or maybe like in addition to religion. But there could be a dark side of astrology, or mediumship, occult too, that could come out, and low vibration, high vibration, and how to distinguish the two. Yes. So, and I think that there's going to be just a ton in technology, period. There's going to be, it's really going to be very hard to navigate life if you don't know how to work a phone and a computer, all these things. These are going to be necessary. They already are, but there's certain cases, but it's the wave of the future. It's coming. Wealth is going to be more with the weird or the unusual or the unconventional. So if you're starting a business, the more unconventional, the better. The more out there, probably the better. Now, we kind of talked a little bit about this. Natural medicine gets huge. We're talking about going back to the old stuff. I was actually just watching this woman talk about castor oil and how much castor oil, and my grandma knew this. I mean, my grandma's been gone for a long time, but my grandma knew all these things, like, the castor oil and, all these home remedies that they had. We're going to go back to this. I think that we need to. We're so set on getting a prescription to cure everything, and we're just making ourselves sicker. So we have to cure what we can naturally. We have to go back to that. And so we also have to talk too about not just women's movements, but we have to go back to the black on black crime, which I mentioned in the Pluto and Capricorn. So humanity and fairness. When we talk about black on black crime, what people don't understand is that we have to look deeper into that, because that has its roots in slavery. That has its roots in trying to pit, black on black, so that they don't get strong and that they don't rise. So, so lack of community is actually really good for white people who believe and, who are racist, because, you're not joining together, you're not rising up and coming together. So whenever you see community, whenever you see, minority communities, that's where the power is. You know what I mean? You have to really be in that community. So, and then after the Pluto and Capricorn, the whole thing came out with the police officer, and the black police officers, and then the black man who they were arresting. And that, I think more of that is going to come out and kind of looked at, and that how minorities also need to come together as a community so that they have power, and power is in the multitudes, and of course, white people and every other color joining together as one. And that's what we really need to do. We have to join together as one. But shifts in human rights and humanitarian, human rights, civil rights, all these shifts have to be made, because, we can't continue the way that we are. Before I get into each sign, Ivy, you have any particular thoughts or predictions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things I've been talking about for a long time is the way we have cures for cancer all around us. All around us. I've witnessed it myself. I dated a guy who spliced together a couple different kinds of marijuana and was contacted, by someone who'd been trying to do it in Rome since like 1973, right? And this guy was involved in the Weed Olympics and high times. He's done all this research, and he's this, scientist. And I remember watching my boyfriend at the time. And while I didn't hold him in the highest esteem for a bunch of other reasons, I remember watching him take these plants and just splice them just so naturally together. And this, one plant grow and him be reached out to, by these scientists who've been trying forever, and watching the success of what he was just naturally doing in his basement. And I watched him take this plant and give it to his mother's friend. His mother's friend was dying of cancer. She had been diagnosed with, sorry, I don't really know the different levels, but she had basically been given a timeline. I think she was given like 7 months or something like that to live. So she was told that there was no cure, for this. And she had already had cancer, I believe, 2 other times. And she had done chemo and, recouped and had a recession, I guess they call it, or remission. Sorry. And this was unbelievable. I watched this woman come to the house, hunched over, looking like she was probably 85, just really frail, using a cane, doing the best she could. She seemed really out of breath, like she was struggling to communicate in a basic way. It was hard for her to just sit with us and like have a cup of coffee. He gave her this plant that he had spliced together. She, within, I want to say 3 months, showed up back at the house, upright, no cane, completely gone, 100% cured. As far as I know, it never came back. I mean, I've seen stuff like this and wholeheartedly believe that we are surrounded by the cures. And that was the last year I went to the Komen race for the cure. And I'm not saying don't give your money there. I'm not saying don't even give your time. And I'm not saying, okay, I just think we need to start redirecting our energy to the truth. The cures are out there. We live in a for-profit medical system that's corrupt, and we need to stop playing these games. And that's, I want to say, the biggest change, because talk about putting the power back in the hands of the people. As we go back to our natural roots, as we go back to the grandmothers and our indigenous roots, and we go back to thinking of things like food as medicine, and we go back to growing our own, right? We're going to have these cures available everywhere, and we're going to be absolutely unstoppable. When you said, Christina, that women are going to take the patriarchy down by regaining our power, by stopping them from hurting us in like the doctor's office, right? And just depleting our energy all the time. I mean, this is another great example of that. And this is for everybody. When we take our bodies back, we take our energy back. When we take our energy back, we're thinking straight. We're going to collectively get together and we're just going to burn these systems down. I think this is going to be the highlight. One of the highlights.
I love it. It's so inspiring, really.
It is. All right, I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through each sign relatively quickly. So when we talk about Aries, Pluto is going to move into your 11th house. That's going to have to do with your goals, your dreams, hopes, and wishes. So there will be some transformation of that. Also, the communities and the groups, friends, and acquaintances that you put yourself in, those are going to change as well. In your interactions with the public, possibly on the internet, because the 11th house can be internet too. So social structures, friends, those are going to get an overhaul. You will purge anyone or any group that does not serve you. Taurus, it's going to be in your 10th house. So you're talking about a complete change in career, reputation, how others know you, your status. And this can be status as, whatever your career is, or it could be as a mother, father. It could be as a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. But something there is going to change. And wherever Pluto is, you dig deeper. So you might be digging deeper in whatever your career is or your status. Gemini, Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius is going to hit into your 9th house. So this is going to be travel, broadcasting, publishing, education, like higher education, like knowledge, books, those kinds of things. Philosophies and religion. So I think you're going to perhaps purge any philosophies that, no longer serve you. You may, look deeper into certain philosophies. Broadcasting might be changing. Any kind of publishing, maybe maybe some Geminis do some publishing where they expose some things. Pluto's all about exposing the ugly. There could be like religious, you could see some, actually I just saw it today in the paper. Actually, I think my sister sent it to me from one of the newspapers, but a priest that, my family dealt with quite a lot, ended up coming out with, some allegations there. So you could see all these ugly things, and these could come up for you. And you have to decide how you feel about them. You know what I mean? Like if you're in contact with somebody and then you see the ugly and you're like, okay, maybe I need to change my philosophies, in religion or what have you. Cancer, it's going to be in your 8th house. So Pluto and Aquarius will fall into your 8th house. So this is going to be changes in how you merge with somebody intimately. Or it could be the changes in the way you share finances with someone. This could be, your husband, wife. This could be, business partnerships. This just is in some way you merge, but that's going to have to be deeper, and anything toxic is going to have to be purged. Also, too, with this, traumas can come up, and it's a really good time for therapy. If you are a Cancer rising or a Cancer, you might want to think about that because, you'll be able to get to the nitty gritty more easily, and then you'll be able to purge it more easily as well. And these, Pluto's never easy. Pluto's hard, but it's hard for a reason, because it makes you stronger. So Leos, we have it in our 7th house. So this is where relationships get very deep. Superficial relationships will just fall away, and you will keep people around you that are extremely deep. For some Leos, this could be a new relationship that is very, very karmic and in depth. For other Leos, they could be purging a relationship that just no longer serves, got to go. This could be business partnerships. This could be even, to some extent, close friendships. But the bad has to go, basically. The superficial, the toxic has to leave. For Virgo, it's going to be in your 6th house. So for Virgos, you have to get really strict on purging whatever is not serving you as far as your daily food habits. And I will say your daily work habits, whatever you do from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. If there's toxic stuff in there that is not going to serve you, you're going to have to look at that. You're going to have to purge it. So basically diet, exercise, and just your habits. If you're getting up every morning and having a cigarette, well, that's probably got to go. So anyway, Libra. So for Libras, it's going to be in the 5th house. So this is going to be love, children, creative projects, and joy. Just, 5th house is joy and fun. I think it even has to do with self-love a little bit. So you may need to change the way you're having fun, or you might need to change your romantic partner as well. Maybe I know when Pluto moved into my 5th, I got a divorce. So not everybody will get a divorce, but if you've known for a while you were in the wrong relationship, then that might come to the surface. And it is very possible to still change within that relationship. If you both are willing to change, you can both go deeper into the relationship. This also has to do with children too. So Libras, if you have children, they might be moving into a new phase of their life. There might be some changes going on with them. We have Scorpio. Scorpio, it has it in the 4th house. And this is going to be like changes in stability, security, your sense of security, family structure, even like looking at your roots and history. And, the home where you live, there could be big changes there as well. I would if you are buying a house and you're a Scorpio, make sure you look at the plumbing. I would just look at the plumbing of it and the structure, the house structure. Make sure it's solid. Make sure there's not a lot of cracks and stuff like that. Sagittarius. So it's Pluto's going to enter your third house, which has to do with communications. It has to do with like, like moving, like trips, but like moving in a car or moving like, from town to town if you drive around a lot. So there could be some changes there. Siblings, cousins, and neighbors all fall into this area as well. So if you have some toxic neighbors, if you have some toxic stuff going on with your siblings, if you have stuff going on with maybe your cousins, this might kind of come to light now. Third house can also be contracts and your thoughts as well. So, there could be like some really deep changing thoughts that happen for Sagittarius. Okay. Capricorn. Capricorn, it's going to go into your second house. So this is the house of how you make money on a daily basis. So you're going to have, it's going to change you're going to look at that more deeply, how you make money, and what changes, what needs to be, what's toxic and that needs to go, and what is going to support your self-worth and your making money and material values. For Aquarius, it's going into your sign, so very big change. Now Aquarius we're ending Saturn in Aquarius, so Aquarius has had a tough couple of years. So Pluto in Aquarius is going to be more about going deep for Aquarius. And a lot of Aquarians, Aquarius tends to be a more distant sign. It tends to be able to pull back and be more like hands off. But Pluto in Aquarius is really going to make you kind of go deep, and you're going to be focused on your body. So anything toxic that you're putting in your body, I suggest you let it go. And any way you're treating your body, that's got to go. But also how you're perceived as well. So you might be perceived as too aloof, not deep enough. Those are things you're going to have to kind of look at. You're going to have to go deeper. So for Aquarius, a little more important than everybody else because it's in their own sign. So they're going to have to really look at themselves in a more deep way, probably than they are used to, and in their physical bodies more deeply. And last but not least, Pisces. So with Pisces, it's going to be Pluto in Aquarius is really going to be like subconscious thoughts, karma that needs to be transmuted from past lives. So it's almost like it's going to be, a lot of it's going to be in the dream space, might come up in nightmares. You might have to look at it in nightmares. This would be a great time for past life regression when Pluto's in Aquarius for Pisces, and kind of just purging out anything left over from past lives that needs to be transmuted for the good. And anything like anything hidden or subconscious, like that's really where the purging is going to be. And it's difficult because the 12th house is where it's kind of like a blind spot. So it may show up more in your dreams or subconscious, and in symbols too. I would recommend that Pisces be the first on your list for your symbology book, because they're probably going to see a lot of symbols. And if they're not aware, they won't realize what they are.
That's funny you say that, because I was going to say as soon as you started talking to Pisces about this, I saw the book I plan to publish after my symbology book comes out is on dreams. Now, I already have the class up on the website. It's like 10 years old. This isn't new at all, but I'm going to transfer it, into a book. So getting this on hard copy, taking the time to really pay attention. There's no time like the present to the symbols that are popping up around you, Pisces. And this is for everybody, but especially you guys. Understanding how deep some of these are archetypes, and some of these are karmically connected. And a lot of this is connected to your past, your past lives. I love that you said past life regression. It's all sort of the same story, ongoing, coming to the surface. And I feel like it's going to be the most interesting time for you guys. Maybe I just am sort of addicted to that state of being, and I love Pisces, but this is really colorful. Christina, thank you so much for breaking down every sign.
So
We're going to, get to last words here in a second. I do want to encourage everybody to please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, drop a comment. It helps us out in the feed. Again, we are Roots Revival Interfaith. And we are going to be taking your prayer and healing requests. So go ahead and post them if you haven't already done so. Christina and I go back and we offer healings and prayers and manifestation over you guys, whether you post now or you post later on, okay, on this video. So go ahead and do that as well. I know that this is a long service today, so we don't have time to take everybody's questions. Normally we do. We are an interactive church. But I do want to bring in any, closing statements here, and then we're going to let everybody go because this has been a ton of super useful information. Christina, just let me, and can we all say thank you to Christina? Because, I've heard a lot of other astrologers speak on this, and I just didn't really feel that they were hitting this aspect in the way that you did. And when you brought it up, I was like, okay, thank you, because this is what I want to know about. I mean, we here at ILPA and Roots Revival, we're all about self-development. We're all about spiritual development, and raising that vibration and coming together as a collective. We're all one. We want to see movement and changes in the world around us. And the only way to really do that is to stop kind of focusing on the fluff and the feel-good things and what's coming up in my horoscope that's going to work for me, and we need to look at the nitty gritty. We have to look at what's shadow work or, the difficult aspects. And this is a huge opportunity we should not be overlooking. 18 years in our past is a really long time. 20 years into the future is an even longer period of time, So thank you for always catching this. This is why I love Christina so much.
Yeah, I feel like, my final words, I guess, would be part of the revolution. Don't be left behind, because, you don't want that in your karma.
You don't want that in your karma, do you? You don't want to have to, be born again. We have to at some point take our reincarnation more seriously too.
Yeah, let us level up, for crying out loud.
Level up already. Do you want to be doing this again? Because you will, as a worm. Okay, you must contribute to the revolution, or else. Seriously, you really do. And time is ticking on those that are going against it. I will say this. And my last word is basically on that: new level, new devil. If you guys haven't checked it out, go onto my YouTube channel at Ask Ivy and watch a free mini class that's up there called Fighting the Dark, Part 1 and Part 2. When we see huge potential for advancement, like we're talking about here with Pluto in Aquarius, we're talking about the advancement of society. We're talking about technology. We're talking about the people taking their power back, regaining their health, the patriarchy, capitalism, right? Toxicity coming down, burning down, being rebuilt in a powerful way as it should have been. Maybe all along, but we had to go through this process to get there. You can expect more battles, more wars, and more tantrums. So learn the different areas of attack and be prepared. It really is like a science. Be prepared to fight them as you go, as we all go. Okay, so wherever there's going to be huge advancement, there will also be huge battles. We've seen it all along, but it's about to get even more colorful, I do believe. All right. Thank you so much, Christina, for being here. And again, if you guys missed Pluto and Aquarius, the Revolution Part 1, go back YouTube at Ask Ivy and watch that. Feel free to book a reading. Astrology chart with Christina at any time. Her information is up here. Christina, what is that? cpekierski88@gmail.com.
Yes.
Okay. Feel free to book a reading with me at any time at Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. Thank you, Mary, our beautiful producer, for handling everything tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and your continued support here at Roots Revival. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.